everybody. Thanks for of Gotchi Spaces. And this week's going to be extra special. We're bringing the year to a close, and we are going to be looking a little bit back, but mostly looking ahead at Web3 gaming in 2023. We're going to have a little bit more structure than we did last week. We're going back to the idea of getting a little bit of a panel discussion going, at least for the first 45 minutes, hour or so, and then we'll open it up to everybody who wants to jump in. And it's cool because we've got a ton of really important guests that are going to be able to join the stage, people with real insights and experience, either building or otherwise in the space. And so real quick, stick around. We're going to hear from our friends at BreederDAO, the NFT asset factory of blockchain games. We're going to hear from GotchiGang. I see he's here. We'll get him up on stage here in a bit. If you don't know Kaji, then you don't know Web3 gaming, I guess. He's been televising the revolution since forever ago, since the Web3 gaming revolution started. And also, we've got our friends at Gensokishi Online. They also are known in Web3 space as Genso Meta. They are the only Metaverse project with a 14-year history that is now exploring the Web3 space. So I think there's going to be a lot of lessons learned from them. And then, of course, a big part of Web3 gaming is the guild side. And so we're also going to be hearing from Orium Guild. And Orium Guild, you may know, No Futuristic, a frequent guest here on the Spaces, is also an advocate and a team member for Orium Guild. But we're also going to hear from the leader of the guild, Ernani. So super excited to hear from Ernani today and get some insights into guild strategy and the way guilds are working going forward. So yeah, it's going to be an action-packed hour here. So just to settle in, get ready. We also have a few more surprise guests that I've yet to reveal. So you definitely want to stick around for that. In fact, I can just go ahead and why keep everybody in the dark? Let's just mention we also have another Polygon brethren here from the gaming industry. You might see Kronos here in the chat. Kronos.io, and we've got their founder, Fan, here to talk about the Kronos game that just recently launched on Polygon. And it's going to set the stage for a very exciting 2023 here. So give everybody a little chance to come in, and then we'll be getting started in the next few minutes with the panel. In the meantime, you may have noticed I have pinned a tweet that Aavegotchi tweeted an hour ago, and quite appropriate as we head into a 2023 discussion to just pin that. It's a retrospective on the Aavegotchi protocol over the year and all the things that have been accomplished. And it's an incredible thread. I didn't know Twitter, you could actually max out your amount of tweets in a thread, but we hit the limit with this one. So we actually had to cut some stuff. The blog post is a little more in depth and has everything, but we go through the highlights of everything from January 2022 till now. And it's really amazing to see how much was shipped in so really little of time. And we'll tap on some of those things as we talk about themes around Web3 gaming and what's special about what we're trying to do using blockchain integrated with games. And I'm sure we're going to hear some hot takes and some interesting perspectives today. So yeah, super excited to get this started. So I'm going to start bringing up the requested speakers, and then we can go from there. So let's see here. Let's start with Mobby, because I want to make sure I believe I'm saying it right. Mobby, are you there? Okay, Mobby, quick introduction about yourself, and then I'll bring up more people as well.
Sure. First of all, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate the platform that you've given us, right? So allow me to introduce myself. So my name is Mobby. I'm the Ventures and Business Development Director at BreederDAO. Right. Personal background, I guess I've been a banking professional for most of my life for making the full-on, head-on leap into Web3 last year, right? This time around last year. And about BreederDAO, so allow me to share BreederDAO with you guys, right? Because a lot of exciting things have been happening, right? So for BreederDAO, we call ourselves the NFT factory of the Metaverse. And what we do is, I guess, breathe life into blockchain gaming space, right? So we're currently developing and incubating lots of projects that support the overall blockchain gaming ecosystem, such as PlayCore, which is an analytics hub for anything and everything blockchain gaming, PlayCash, a payment solution aggregator, I guess, aimed at lowering barriers of entry for people, especially those in third world countries, and Breeder Tools, which aims to enhance the experience of gamers within ecosystems through various smart contract applications, right? So yes, lots of things to be excited about. And again, thanks guys for having us here.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and bring up Kaji as well. Hold on one second here. Okay, you know what? I'm going to just start bringing everybody up, and Kaji's got to raise his hand. So in the meantime, we can go to others. But real quick, before we do, Mabby, I want to go back to Breeder DAO. And, you know, I was able to meet with some members of your community in Singapore not too long ago and was super impressed with what you guys are doing. So real quick, just how long has Breeder DAO been around, and like what would you say is your greatest success story to date?
Sure, sure. So we've actually been around quite a while now. So I think our original day one was sometime in October last year, right? And our TLA or our token launch auction was at April, which is basically the launch for a token, right? So it's been quite a while. Been the same. I've been seeing the space for quite a while now. In terms of success stories, I guess nothing in particular, but what I would like to highlight really is, how we've really built a dedicated, hardworking, and a very innovative team, who have constantly been shipping lots of products right out there. Like I said, including PlayCash, PlayCore, and Breeder Tools, right, among other things. So for me, that's very exciting. I guess one thing up our sleeve as well, an ace up our sleeve, is a project which we're keeping on the down low just for now, right? But do keep your eye out on it for the next few months. It's gonna be big. It's gonna be very crazy. So watch out for that.
Okay, that's the 2023 alpha we're looking for today. So we'll have to scrape away at that and get more info. Perfect. Well, KG is on stage now, so we'll go right down my list here. KG, I always call you KG. Welcome to the stage, and yeah, let's start with a brief intro for anyone who doesn't know you. But I think most already know KG. You've had a huge impact on this space.
Thank you. Very humbling words, I guess. I appreciate it. I haven't been in a space in a while. It's a little bit nerve wracking. I don't know why spaces for me. It's like I feel like under pressure, but when I'm like on camera, it's so much different. I don't know what it is. But anyways, guys, I'm Kagi. I'm a YouTuber. Well, I started as a YouTuber back in 2017, then transitioned into Web3 gaming in 2020. I found Aavegotchi, Axie Infinity, and a few others, and there was no content basically on YouTube. So I kind of decided to take that role and kind of push the space forward. And here we are. And I keep pushing the space forward in different ways. Right now, I just recently founded the Juice Team. The Juice Team is a gaming and esports organization, a content and esports organization. The esports side of things we're not pushing right now, just because esports is not even close to being ready. So we're not kind of like delving into that world yet. But we do create content for games, and we also just recently launched our MVP of our platform, which is basically people get to earn this juice token, which is off chain. With this off chain token, they can buy NFTs from our treasury, and then we create quests for them to go play games, and that way we can help games kind of increase their engagement with real users, not just like speculators. So we create quests like go play Aavegotchi example and complete a mission in the Aavegotchi game. We verify that, and then we reward them with juice tokens, which is essentially a loyalty reward program. So that's what we're doing right now, and yeah, glad to be here.
Super cool. I think that kind of knocks on the door of adoption, which is something, Aavegotchi is always thinking about, and I think everybody on this call, and maybe you've got the key to that. Now, the founder key is something I pinned to the top. It's your pinned tweet. Is that different than the Juice Team, or are they kind of they go together?
Yeah. That is the founder key is basically the key that allows you to earn the juice tokens, and it also gets you airdrops in more than 25 games. We are partnered with more than 25 games. We're going to keep partnering with them, and those you don't have to grind for. For example, with Chronos, we're going to drop a set of NFTs for free, or quote unquote free, for the people that have the NFT. And these are Juice Team related NFTs within more than 25 games. And the idea here is to basically incentivize players to go play the game, to feel connected to the Juice Team, to feel connected with the culture of the Juice Team, and to have a piece of me and the Juice. Eventually, I don't want the Juice Team to be about me. I want it to be about a collection of or a group of creators something like Face Clan, something like TSM, Luminosity, traditional Web2 content and esports organizations. But the difference here is that we're actually giving them digital assets related to the Juice team, which is something that you couldn't really do before, unless you did like a massive contract with something like, I don't know, like Call of Duty does that for Face Clan and stuff like that. But that's about it. But now we can actually do it much easier through NFTs and just airdrop it to the fans or followers, something that we couldn't do before, and now it's just much easier to do.
Yeah, that's a good example of like what's special about Web3. And we always say we want to do things that you wouldn't be able to do with traditional games. Otherwise, what are we doing? And it reminds me of last week's talk. We were talking about like the fake gotchis art and how getting royalties like actually enforced in real life is like really hard. You have to get a lawyer, you have to sign paperwork, and then the bookkeeping, you don't even know if it's honest or not. It's like it's not even worth the effort, honestly. But with everything on chain, you can just stream these rewards and stream these royalties, and it all just works, and it's automated. And so I think you're kind of saying something similar here with the esports model, but with a nice Web3 smart contract twist. So that sounds like something that will definitely work going forward.
Absolutely. Well, glad to be here. Happy to hear
Yep.
other speakers out here.
Yeah, we got Genso Meta here on stage, so we're moving right along to meet Genso Meta. Mike,
Hello. Thank you for having us. Can you hear me? I'm Matt from Genso.
Nice and clear. Now, if I understand correctly, we were talking recently. You were on the move. So are you all settled and you got some solid Wi-Fi today?
So I was in Bangkok yesterday when we had the call, and I was supposed to fly into Chiang Mai this morning, but I discovered that my flight was tomorrow, so I'm flying later. Very, very, very embarrassing.
Oh, okay. You're gonna love Chiang Mai, one of my favorite cities. So I was can't mention that place enough. So Gotchiverse, you guys have a long history, right? This is like long-standing IP. You guys have been across multiple video game platforms, from Nintendo to PCs. Correct me if I'm wrong, and have a kind of super dedicated, massive user base. What's Genso Meta in relation to that? And yeah, just a little bit about what you guys are. I think you guys just launched, right?
Thank you. Yes, we launched November 30th, about 2 weeks ago. And as you say, we are based on a Web2 game called Elemental Knights that have been running for 15 years now and available on Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, iOS, and Android. And the entire team decided to transition the game into Web3. So the same team that was publishing the Web2 version is working on the Web3 version which is called Genso. And as you say, we have the most downloaded game in 2012 in Japan and Taiwan. So we have a robust and vibrant user base in Asia. And I saw Mabi in the Philippines Web3 Festival from Breeder DAO, and we're spreading our game across Southeast Asia. We're very excited about it. And I think the most interesting kind of talk I can give today is how we're seeing so many of our Web2 users who know nothing about Web3 wallets and those coins and etc. coming in and actually embracing this revolution and enjoying our Web3 version as well. So I'm very excited to be here, and thanks for having us.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm very curious to pick your brain on how that kind of crossover and adoption is working for you guys. So I just pinned a tweet at the top here. Everybody check out. It says the Genso land is it's kind of a land viewer. Looks pretty cool, and might be a good starting point for anybody to check out what you're up to there. And let's see. I think we've got Kronos with a little technical difficulty, but we definitely have Kronos. If you get it worked out, just raise your hand, hop back up. And then we definitely have Ernani here from Orium Guild. So Ernani, welcome to the stage.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. Yeah, so my name is Hernani. I'm the founder of Orion. Orion started in 2021 with this whole play to earn and blockchain games movement. We started initially as a guild. And in 2021, what we quickly realized is that there was a huge gap in the space regarding education. a lot of people that started to play all these different games, they didn't realize that they have to create a crypto account. How they interact with the games is different. The concept of ownership, all these different things are new to a lot of newcomers, new joiners to the space. And in 2021, we focused very much on building a guild. We have over 1,000 people in our guild. We operate in 5 different games at the moment. And we essentially built this foundation for our upcoming platform, which we start working this year in 2022. So another gap that we realized that we had in the space is that the concept of scholarships or all these rentals, it's very difficult to manage off-chain, out of the blockchain, right? So we're building a platform that essentially enable guilds, NFT owners, and players to interact on-chain, on the blockchain, with NFT rentals, right? And the mission is essentially to democratize the space, to enable more people to join in communities that are limited by the amount of NFTs or by the price of these things.
Yeah, and I just shared a tweet of yours about some of the services your guild offers, specifically for Aavegotchi in this particular post. But what I love about you guys is you are kind of building from scratch some really important infrastructure to empower your scholars. And seems like a ton of potential there. So definitely we'll have some insights for what's missing with Web3 games and what you're building to solve that.
Yeah, absolutely. The gaming protocol. Sorry, the Aavegotchi Twitter has a little bit of echo. It confused me a bit. But yeah, we integrate with games that already have a lending protocol in place, like Aavegotchi, Cometh, and so on. And the games that do not, we partnered with them to launch NFT renting protocol on the blockchain that we can then build our platform on top of or integrate with our platform. So we are sort of a lending aggregator, but for NFTs rather than decentralized exchanges.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And am I still echoey for everybody? Because that would be a problem. I'll have to go get my Bluetooth.
No, right now.
You're good. You're good.
Good. Okay, great. I was going to say, I saw Hefe, you raised your hand. You're welcome to hop up on stage. We're usually co-hosting these, so Hefe's in the house. Feel free to hop up here. But we'll get right into it here with the kind of the meat and potatoes of this. And so a couple key questions here for everybody to kick off with. And really at the beginning, we need to define what Web3 gaming is. Like, how is it different than what you typically think of with gaming? And I know Web3 gaming is kind of unpopular in certain sects right now, or met with suspicion from traditional gaming communities. So we'll kind of go around. We won't have everybody answer every question in lieu of time, but I think this is a good one for you, KG. Just when you think of Web3 gaming and what inspired you to start your YouTube channel, kind of broadcasting this, what you call a revolution, how do you define it? Like, what's the difference?
Yeah, the reality is that we have come full circle. I don't think many people saw the full circle. The token side of things, that wasn't a thing. You know this, Jesse, at the beginning, this wasn't a thing. Like the tokens and DAOs and all of this wasn't a thing. And I'm sure there's a space for this. I think Aavegotchi has done a good job there. But the reality is, at the beginning of it, it was all about ownership. It was always about ownership. I think people are coming back to it and saying, "Oh, it's about ownership. It's about ownership." But it was always about ownership, right? I still have my Aavegotchis from, the first Aavegotchis that I got. I still have them, although I need to, I need to pet them. But it was always about ownership. And even at the beginning of gaming, I guess it was, what's it called, CryptoKitties. It was about ownership. It was about owning your cat and breeding your cat and whatever. So it was always about ownership, and now we're coming back to it. A lot of games, or supposedly games, they launch a bunch of tokens before they had a game, before they had a product. And to a certain extent, I understand it, because how else are you going to raise money? And then on top of that, VCs saw it as an easy way to kind of help a project but also cash out. So I understand the business side of this, right? I get it, but we're coming back to this, to ownership, owning your assets regardless of the price of that asset, right? So that's
right. Yeah, we see that this year, like the year in review. We were talking in the Discord, and it's just like, one of the comments I see time and again is, we don't even care about the bear market, or, which I speak in generalities here, but it's just like, we're doing our thing and we own these and we're building this together. And so, that is what it is. That's the real value. And then like everything else is just peripheral to that. So I think you're going with like the original totally that building block. It's like you own these things. And if you talk to a gamer and they're like, why should I care? It's like, because you own these. Like Blizzard Entertainment can't rug you. Like you're gonna always own this asset and have that ability. So property rights is like blockchain 101. I think there's a good one for Genso too, because you guys are bridging that gap and you have that history that predates Web3 gaming. So when you talk to your community about why they should come over and check out Genso Meta and get on the blockchain, what is the message there? How do you guys communicate it?
Great. So as exactly what you said, of course, it's about ownership. And at the beginning of the days, of course, there was a play to earn concept and that started off everything. But our game is very hyper casual and people actually play the game because they like the game. And I think that's very important. And our players are that have been introduced to this game newly respect that as well, that this game, of course, you have ownership of the assets, of course the tokens that you earn, but it's not basically the main objective is not to earn but to enjoy the game, but at the same time everything is yours. And I think we were able to successfully do this because everybody's staying online. They actually like the game. They have a community there. And that's what games have been. And that's what Web3 gaming is probably going to move forward as well. And right now, Genso is geared to that vector.
No, that totally makes sense. It's like something we hear a lot is blockchain games just are not polished enough. And so everything's about the tokenomics or whatever. And we need to get to a point where it's like the game is so strong that stands on its own.
Go on mute, or is it just me?
Can you guys hear me? Check 1, 2.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, it's been a little funky today. So I think
For me too.
most of you can hear me. That's good enough. You know, Hefe, you want to jump in here and do a little co-hosting. I think we were talking about like, what models in the past did we think would work for Web3 and are kind of like not what's going to be the real answer for mass adoption. It's not what's going to be hot in 2023. Do you have any insights into that or any thoughts on that? And then you can pass the mic around while I make sure everything's running smooth here in the back end.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, to Kagi's point, to Genzo's point, the core principles are still there of asset ownership. And now I'm thinking, well, you know, in the real world, we have people who own assets and we have a ton of people who rent those assets. And I think Aavegotchi has just kind of started this last year with asset rentals. And I'm curious to see how asset owners are going to utilize their assets. And, you know, we've seen people like No Future do asset management within Aavegotchi, I would say pretty successfully, and manage a operation on his own. We've also seen other guilds doing this. So I'm curious to see how asset ownership will develop into a actual business model where asset owners are taking their assets and, you know, trying to utilize them the best way they can. And I think we'll see that in 2023. We'll see a lot more of that. We have quite a few asset owners in Aavegotchi, but we got a ton of people who are interested in the game, but may not have that, you know, that barrier to entry might still be a little high for them to get in, but they can rent the asset.
Totally. Huge part of it is like sometimes you own stuff just so you can share it with your friends. And so Mabi and Breeder DAO, I think this is kind of a good segue to something you guys are working on with being the factory of games, Web3 games. Like how exactly, what are you seeing for 2023 in terms of getting assets into more owners' hands and perhaps a sharing economy blossoming? What role do you guys play in that, and what are you most excited about?
Yeah, so I guess first of all, so thanks for the question, right? So obviously, first of all, right, we do take pride in our ability to contribute to the ecosystem, right? So hopefully, you know, by us shipping out these products, right, Playcore being a discovery platform, right, Playcash an onboarding solution, right, Breeder tools, part of the ecosystem for you to, I guess, really experience to the full extent what is to be experienced in the metaverse, right? Hopefully, you know, through the tools that we're developing, we can really make or contribute rather to making the space flourish. But I guess ultimately, right, one thing that at least I'm watching out for with regards to the future of Web3 gaming would be the more quality titles, right? So obviously a lot of titles have already started. Genso, big fan of you guys. Love their conversation, Matt, and we really should pick that conversation up again, right? But lots of names are already joining the space, right? We're starting to see guys from Ubisoft, right, starting to actively invest in projects. You're obviously curious about the space. Supercell also made an investment, if I'm not mistaken, right, in a game called Moonfrost. Square Enix is already coming out with a Symbiogenesis gaming NFT. And I guess more recently, right, in more recent news, the former Activision Blizzard president is now the Yuga Lab CEO. So for me, lots to be excited about personally on the gameplay aspect, right? If we could see more quality titles in Web3 in 2023 and 2024, right, that would be a very big win for us.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And in terms of, the assets you made, so you're working with a lot of the games in the space, and you kind of can see these trends, in which way they're going. And I think you mentioned you were at the Web3 festival recently in the Philippines and saw Genso there. A lot of guilds there, right? I think it was co-hosted or co-organized by YGG. And so obviously guilds have a huge role to play in what's coming down the future here. And it may be like Kaji's model with more of an esports competitive type of approach. But Hernani, I just was pinning a tweet about Orium Guild and what you guys are doing. And I noticed that right at the top, you guys are partnered with Chronos. Just announced something with Chronos, who we're trying to get on stage. So if we can't get them on stage, they seem to be a very cool DeFi RPG type of play that is just launched on Polygon. Could you give us a little insight into Chronos and do them a favor?
Yeah, absolutely. So Chronos is actually an upcoming game to Polygon. And what I was amazed by it when we had our first conversations is how many things they have already done, and the art and the concept, right? I think it's quite unique. So we had a Twitter space last week announcing our partnership, and we essentially are going to partner with them to launch a NFT lending protocol on the Polygon blockchain. And again, the idea is that when they launch their NFTs, they're going to be capped by the amount of users that they have with the number of NFTs that they sold. With lending in place, we are able to scale up the number of users, right, their audience, without having to essentially mint more NFTs. And there's also bring utility for these NFTs, right, which increase their value, in other words. But yeah, Chronos is an awesome product, an awesome project. They just did their NFT mint. I think it was last Thursday. So we are very excited. Kagi did on YouTube a demo preview, right, Kagi?
Yes, actually, I've done a few. I think I did the adventure mode, which is one of my favorites. I think the best way to explain Chronos is it's a combination between something like Terraria. I don't know if you guys have seen Terraria. Basically, you go into dungeons, you mine, you kill monsters, and then you come back to your base, and then you build your base with those resources. There's markets where you can craft. Everything that you craft with the resources that you earn are basically they become NFTs. I think Aavegotchi has done something similar to that, which is really cool. And then also there's also PvP, something like Smash Brothers, so you can fight other players with their gear that they have crafted or gain through their adventures. And also you can go into co-op mode into these adventures as well. So the coolest thing is the progression of this game, going into adventures, coming back, building your base, progressing through the game. And the cool thing is that it's a 2D kind of like side scroller type of game. So yeah, pretty
nice.
Cool.
Yeah,
Nice.
remember that.
Oh, go ahead, Arnaud.
No, I was just going to mention that. Remember that when we had our first conversations, we speak with a lot of games because we want to democratize access on many different platforms. And one of the things that really struck to me is that every game we speak, they always bring up the token, right? What is the value that you are bringing to your users? So it's always about the token and the utility around the tokens and things like that. And with Chronos, you don't actually earn a token while playing. You might earn NFTs, and those NFTs can be upgradable through gameplay. So yeah, it's a different concept around play and earn, right? And that really struck to me because there is a big potential there to create what I would call a sustainable ecosystem, right? That is utility fun is the first thing. So yeah, I'm very interested to see what they're going to come up with.
Hey guys, I think I got my connection back up. Hopefully it doesn't disconnect. Rebooting my phone did the trick. But in any case, I'm going to be quick. Thank you for having me here already. Annie and Kagi did a pretty solid job at telling about Chronos a little bit, about the gameplay, the adventure, the PvP, everything. And also, even Hernani mentioned the economy. We don't have a token. And we mostly focus on the RPG elements, right? Like improving your character, which also gets reflected in your NF, owning new weapons, new gear. Like you got weapons, you got crafting mechanics in place. Also some quests, some dialogues, and everything that's going to be in place. So really excited. We're actually releasing our beta in a couple of weeks. And the full launch with the village, the full adventure mode is coming Q1, Q2 2023. But again, everyone's invited to test out the beta in a couple of weeks, and really excited about that.
Very cool. Very cool. So, and you're also on Polygon, right? So a lot of Polygon fam, I think that's one of the themes is like, where are the successful blockchain games going to be in the coming years, and especially this 2023? And I mean, the last year, if it's an indicator of strength and momentum, then I would suspect that we're very cozy on Polygon with Aavegotchi and expect more great things and more great games to come out there. So we've got a pretty flourishing ecosystem here and a lot of potential wrapped up on the Polygon chain.
Yeah.
Hernani, going back to you, I did have a follow-up for you in general, and this is going to go out to everybody, but it's like one thing we have to think about with these games we're building is who are we building them for, and is it different than traditional games? And it probably is. So who is playing today as they join your guild, as they join your platforms here? Think about who's playing today, and do you expect that to expand to new player types in the near future?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Was that question for me? Sorry, I didn't hear.
I think with being the guild and Orion Guild, you could kick it off, and then we can kick it around.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, so what I find interesting about our gaming ecosystem, talking about blockchain games specifically, is that on my experience in the guild, the range of age of people accessing it is not that young. It takes a little bit of experience, I would say, or knowledge about blockchain and crypto to figure out the concept of ownership and understanding that you are really rewarded for your time and your performance on the game, right? So what we have seen is that generally older people tend to join games. Again, that's just our experience in Orion Guild. And when I mean older, is not like 50s. We are talking about 30s, right? There's a big difference there. And there is also a lot of rotation, right? Because games, they are supposed to be entertaining. And one of the things that we have challenged with in the past is some games, for example, like Axie Infinity, they tend to release that game and they release a lot of other things around the game that are interesting for the tokenomics, like a DEX, a bridge, and so on. But the game stays the same. And that's not great for the entertaining aspect of the game, right? Fun should be the number one priority of what we're doing here. And I think sometimes that has been put aside or set aside. So as a guild, what we have been doing is trying to diversify the experiences that we can provide to our community, right? So you not only have Axie Infinity, you also have Aavegotchi, you also have Chronos, you also have Pegaxi, and many other games that we are working on, and we'll continue to look for other games to bring to those users and keep them engaged, right? Because that's one of the most important things is creating this engagement, creating this sense of community so that everybody has a health ecosystem that they can be a part of.
That totally makes a lot of sense. And I'm glad you clarified what old means. So now I know I'm old. Thank you.
Sorry about that. It's because
like,
traditionally in gaming, I think I see a lot of people in 15, 20s. That's what I meant.
Totally. No, I get it. I was like, I think he's talking about me.
Yeah. I'd like to share my thoughts on this, right? Because this is an interesting question, right? So obviously who are playing today, I guess if you ask me, right, basically the ones playing are the Web3 natives, right? Those who are actually willing and able to navigate the complexities of, I guess, non-custodial wallets, DEXs and stuff, right? But hopefully, as the larger gaming platforms ease up their stance on Web3 games and NFTs, we can see more and more of the traditional gamers get exposed to Web3 games, right? Because that's approximately 3B, if I'm not mistaken, right? Last I checked the numbers. I guess at the end of the day, right, what I want to happen is for these blockchain games to be seen as simply games. Like nothing too different, nothing special, right? Mark Otero, I guess, of Azra put it best when I heard one of his spaces, I think, right, when he said something along the lines of, players will not know that they're actually playing a Web3 game until they love our game. So for me, that's really an embodiment of adoption, right? So
yeah, I think that's a very big goal and probably something we're going to see more. But I think Genso is kind of trying out that strategy with the hyper casual. And I think when you onboard, you don't even have to deal with Web3 necessarily until you kind of have involved yourself to a point where you really want to. With Aavegotchi, I have to say, though, we're kind of like the opposite. Like, and I think there's room for both, where we're just like running towards blockchain, and it's all about, the premise is crypto is growing as fast as the internet did 10 years ago. So we want to embrace that. And if you want to learn about smart contracts, you want to appreciate what's happening behind the scenes, then Aavegotchi is probably the place for you. And so there's, I think, more than one way to address this. And it's totally, you're right, though. It's something that ultimately you have to have a good, clean UX for it to work in either case. KG, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I wanted to add on to that because I see a lot of people talking of, remove Web3, remove NFT from the wording. And I'm like, no, I don't agree. I actually don't agree with that. It's like remove MP3 player from the MP3. Like the problem wasn't the MP3 player. The problem wasn't the CD player, right? The problem is that we don't have the good games, right? It doesn't matter if it has NFTs or if it has Web3 slapped on it. Like, oh, this is a Web3 game. It's okay to be proud of being a Web3 game and an NFT game or whatever you want to call it, or a crypto game. It's okay. The thing is that we need better games. That's really where the issue lies, right? The big spike that we saw last bull did not have the support of good games. So people came in and they were like, okay, so this is it. There's nothing here, and then the flood came, right? But if we had good games at the moment that we had the bull run, we wouldn't be in this position. So ultimately, we need better games, but we don't need to remove the Web3 out of it. And there's going to be spectrums, right? I learned DeFi with literally Aavegotchi. Aavegotchi got me into DeFi. I learned all about going into the Aave platform, wrapping the token, and then putting it into the Aavegotchi. It was a whole process, and I learned a lot about DeFi through yield-bearing tokens and all of that. So there's going to be a spectrum, and there's other games like Star Atlas. Star Atlas is going to be, if they deliver, which I hope they do, right? Let's just say they would. If they deliver, it's going to be a full-blown economy. It's going to try to kind of, what's the word for this in English? A real life economy, like a real life economy. And that's a whole spectrum. That's like the farthest spectrum, right? And then there's going to be games that are not going to have real life economies, and all they're going to have is skins. And there's going to be games that are going to have in-betweens. And you see Ember Sword. Ember Sword is an in-between game. You can own your NFT land, and then that NFT land yields revenue from everything that happens in the marketplace. So there's going to be in-betweens with all of this. I don't think we should remove Web3 out of it. I don't think we should remove NFTs out of it. We are crypto games, and if we're not crypto games, then I guess the people that don't like it, go play Steam games, There's good games there.
I'm waiting for the Steam blockchain. Then everybody can be happy. We'll just have a Steam blockchain.
Let me just add real quick to what Kagi just said, and just mentioned that I think we saw a lot of development studios catching the low-hanging fruit. So they were developing a lot of very simple games, turn-based games. There were a lot of those out there. And we are all waiting for the promise of a full-fledged metaverse, right? That is, like Kaji said, Star Atlas promised us a full metaverse, and we are all waiting for it to happen. There are a couple of other games that have promised that to happen. And the cool thing about Metaverse is that we can build on top of it, right? We can build our own experiences on it. So the guild, there is a number of different applications that we can expand to if we have a Metaverse to work on. So yeah, I think the future of blockchain games is definitely Metaverse. I think the word is a little bit overhyped as of right now, because we saw numerous glorious roadmaps that still led to nothing. But that's the thing that I'm most excited about for 2023. Is I think we're going to see the first AAA type of metaverse, and yeah, excited to see that happen.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Again, so I saw your hand up too. You want to jump in?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that we are bringing in a lot of Web2 users, and it has been pretty smooth because our game mainly is on the game inside is off chain. And when you actually accumulate those assets and you want to export those NFTs, export those coins out of the game, you have to learn how to use a wallet, and you have to learn how to maybe use your cold wallet and etc. as well. I just pinned the tweet that we had. We had a Ledger shop. And it was interesting because we had an AMA with Ledger the other day as well. And they're opening a shop inside our metaverse in our mall, and they're selling their cold wallets. They're giving out actually some educational material where all our Web2 users come in and actually go to the Ledger store and listen to those and learn how to utilize cold wallets if they want to. And it's like everybody's saying, you know, it's a cumulative effort by everybody here to educate and learn how to transition into Web3 gaming as smooth as possible. So we're doing that with our partners, and we're excited to do more.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Go ahead, Hefe.
I was just going to touch on that point real quick. That's a really good point. That I think Web3 games have a huge potential here. If you're looking at all the sectors of crypto, Web3 games might have the, you know, in my opinion, the biggest potential for educating a Web2 user who is maybe not interactive with crypto a whole lot. You know, like Kagi was saying, as I share a similar experience. I actually didn't know very much about DeFi. I learned a lot of that through Aavegotchi, through staking. Like I'd never staked a token in my life before I bought my first Aavegotchi. And I learned how to do that. And then I got into DeFi and I started playing around with these things, and you start meeting a community of people who are familiar. So I think Web3 specifically has huge potential for educating this next wave. And if you look at, you know, like Web 1, the first iteration of the internet became popular because of email. Like that was, out of all the features you could think of, it was because you could send a message through the airwaves to another person. And then Web 2 was social. So it was like Facebook, and I can't remember the other ones at that time, but there was these other social media platforms, and that's what made it popular. So I think maybe Web 3 could be led by the evolution of crypto gaming and educating users through gaming.
Yeah, if I may just add there, Hefe, I actually 100% resonate with your thoughts, right? We also agree that I really believe that the key to mass adoption for Web3 really is through blockchain gaming, right? So that is something we firmly believe in, and we're continuing to build towards the fruition for it, right? So
you know, one thing I think about is like genres, game genres, right? We've got our first person shooters, our RPGs, our fighters, but maybe with Web3, you know, one lens we look at Aavegotchi through when we're making decisions is that like it's totally amalgamation of some of these genres mixed with Web3, pure Web3 crypto. And you end up with something that I could only describe as like a new genre where like it's a DAO built game. And so if we're talking about that way, like the DAO being involved in the decision-making process is almost like an RPG in and of itself. It's like a real life role-playing game where we're playing the role of game developers, and then we're actually implementing it together with a treasury and with decision-making infrastructure, and then the game becomes real. And so I think eventually, you know, we might see more games take on this kind of decentralization of decision-making. And it almost feels like a different game genre the way we've structured it. And I think we just need a better name for it. Maybe we'll get that name in 2023. What do you think, KG?
I'm not sure, man. People are so stuck in the naming, and I get it. I understand that, you know, maybe the naming has been tainted a little bit, but fundamentally, what needs to happen is one, better games, two, better UIs, right? Like you said before, and three, just better transitioning, like Genso was talking about, from, you know, playing the game and then kind of educating through the game. Like, okay, now you want this assets, now you got to claim it, right? Something that I haven't seen a lot in games is an implementation of hosted, what's a non-custodial wallets, right? Maybe somebody needs to bring, you know, something for games to make it easier to create non-custodial wallets, and then kind of the game kind of gives the option like, look, this is non-custodial, this is what it means, eventually you want to own your wallet. Kind of educate the player that they should. But if they don't want to and they want to leave it up to the game to make all the decisions on their wallets, then that's cool. That was a decision that they made. But at any point in time, they can make the transition if they wanted to, and that's something I would like to see more in games. Right, just right away as you log into the game, you have a non-custodial wallet, right, or a custodial
Yeah.
wallet.
I think you also missed, Kage, to add that we also need a lot more content creators, right? And educational content. More people like you, in other words. I think, like I said, guilds are trying to do that in their own communities, but that's still very niche. We need to do that to a broader audience. And we also need to elevate the experience to a point that the people, they are just coming to these platforms because they have a great experience, not because they are specifically a Web3 game or a blockchain game, right? You can basically be onboarded to that platform and then, hey, realize that you have this whole ownership part of the experience, which can also lead to a gamefi governance, which I think was what Aavegotchi was referring to before.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think it segues well into maybe a kind of here we can do to kind of put a cap on a lot of the issues. We're talking about onboarding. We're talking about like KG, you know, when you describe the non-custodials, like Venly comes to mind. They offer a lot of solutions. I think Sandbox offers something like that. There's certainly something to be said with that kind of model of option into the on-chain when you're ready. But if we look at the one single trend that will define Web3 gaming in 2023, let's do like kind of a fire squad round. We'll kind of go around, you know, elaborate a little bit, but take a minute here and let's play a little game and see when we look back a year from now and we look at the year, what do you think will be like the surprise headline? What do you think the major trend will be? And I mean, I can kick it off just off the top of my head. Like, I hope that there's a headline that says like the next million crypto users didn't come through Robinhood app. You know what I mean? It's not going to come through the finance side and the reading the charts. I think there is the potential that 2023 is the year we see a viral type of gaming experience happen. And it's going to be, you know, that's the next million crypto users. They're coming through the games, not through Robinhood and day trading. Now, who wants to go next?
I agree. I'm just gonna jump into it. I'm just gonna say a quick something like Reddit, right? This this users didn't even know they had NFTs. They all bought the PFPs from Reddit, and I remember being at my computer about to buy one, and I couldn't figure out what it was myself as an NFT user. I wasn't sure if this is an NFT, if this is a digital collectible only on Reddit. So I was sitting there and then boom, it blew up, and then everybody found out that it was NFTs, and I was like, wow, I should have bought one of those. That is crazy. But it worked for the regular user. If I knew it was an NFT right from the beginning, I would have bought it. I would have bought it because I'm a native. But we're probably gonna see something like the Reddit boom happening next year, but with games. Yeah.
Right. Which is ironic. I mean, I totally agree with your point that we have to have Web3 games stand on their own and be proud to be Web3 games. But like Mabi said, also, like when it comes to mass adoption, there's a very good chance and an opportunity here for digital collectibles being integrated into a game and going viral. So I see both having great opportunity here, and Reddit definitely. That's so funny that you live and breathe NFTs, and then you're sitting there looking at it, going, "What is this thing? Is it sitting on a server in Reddit's server farm? What is this thing?" So who's next? Who wants to talk about what's the big trend in 2023? Prediction time.
Mine kind of ties in with what Keggy just said. I think we're going to start to see like social media features make their way into the metaphysical space. I think people will start communicating more in metaverses, whether it's through specific events or games. I think that's how it's going to start. But maybe next year we might even see like something like a social media platform like Lens, decentralized media, being integrated into something like, Aavegotchi. Like I'd love to go to my friend's lodge and see what they've lately been posting on Lens. It'd be really cool to see some sort of integration like that. So not saying that it might be specifically Aavegotchi, might be someone else, but it would be cool to see something like that making its way into the metaverse.
Well, GotchiGang does have a huge organic kind of following on Lens, at least huge relative to everybody else. It's super early and you got to get requests to get added to the Lens protocol right now. But Yeah, they're doing a lot of really cool stuff there. And I think that there's room for social media 3, 4.0, whatever we're on now, to be part of this kind of Web3 gaming. Like there's probably something really important there. And we're messing with it a lot. We had the social release with Aavegotchi halfway through the year. And really, that's just the beginning of us thinking about it. But, event-based experiences in Web3 games seem to be something that we've had a lot of success with, which is that it is so social. Like the solo player mode has its place and you can collect NFTs and things like that. But in our case, at least, we've had a lot of our greatest success by creating special events that gather people to the same time and place and then sync that all on chain. And I think that will continue to be better improved on if we get more social media integrated with it. So you're onto something there, Hefe.
Yeah, if I could just add to that, right? So I do hope to see a lot of social media integration, but I guess also what I wanted to see more than just that, right, is the integration as well of these gaming platforms, right? So we already seen it with Apple coming out with a list of regulations, how they would be treating NFTs and gaming with cryptocurrencies, right? Epic Games, I guess, relatively friendly to NFTs, right? But hopefully, for 2023, I do hope to see a lot more of these game platforms, Steam, right? Google, who have been pretty quiet on the issue lately, right? I do hope to see that they come up with a positive response and acceptance towards Web3 gaming and NFTs, right? Because that would really expedite the adoption, right? Giving immediate access to their billions of users of player basis, right? So that's what I hope to see.
Yeah, that would be a huge headline for 2023 if we can start getting the stores to cooperate, and there's that 30% cut and all of that's got to be worked out. But it could totally put everything in the fast lane. And so that's a real potential in the next 12 months. Hernani, what do you see for 2023?
Yeah, so for 2023, I expect us to redefine blockchain gaming and essentially what we call games, because all of these social interactions that we are doing right now in the blockchain and even out of the blockchain, just in Web2 games, we're calling them gaming, but they are actually just digital social experiences, right? So sometimes we interact through social media, sometimes we interact through games. And every time those experiences happen on the digital, we tend to call them games. But I don't think the word applies anymore. So again, all of these AAA studios, they're developing full-fledged metaverses. I think they're going to redefine what blockchain gaming is. Is not even going to be called gaming anymore, because it's just the way that people interact with each other. Is no longer like just a fun or a pleasure, a leisure type of thing, right? So that's what I expect to see or hope to see on 2023 is games essentially taking us to the edge, right? Yeah, expanding the frontier, seeing what is out there. We don't want to see any more turn-based games. We have plenty of those out there. We don't want to see, very easy to grab tokens type of games. We want to see, very different experiences, digital experiences. And again, today that word is a metaverse. It might not be appropriated. It might be actually a little bit overhyped, but that's what I expect to see in 2023.
Yeah, I think that's kind of echoing what I was saying there. I think it's all about creating some unique experience that can only be had because of the tools available to us. And it's like, with Aavegotchi, I hope Orium Guild is excited about the arena we've got shipping in Q1. That's going to be the first time Aavegotchis do battle and get together, and it'll obviously have some really pure crypto elements sprinkled on top. So it's not your everyday Web2 battler. It's going to be crypto first. What about Chronos? We still got Chronos here. What do you see for 2023 as the biggest trend or headline?
Sure. So mostly what Hernani said, I think we're finally gonna get to see a lot of games that have been upcoming or new features having been added to them. Like, I don't know, big titles. Also, that's first seeing the new era of blockchain games, right? Like with good gameplay, a good, I don't know, good onboarding, as we were talking before. And also, I don't know if it's gonna be 2023 or 2024. I expect the big players to coming, like, I don't know, like Blizzard or Activision. I think even, I don't know if it was PlayStation or Disney that registered a patent about a blockchain or something. But I don't know. I think sooner or later we're gonna get the big players involved in the space and driving the space forward too. I think right now they're mostly waiting to see, because as we know, people have a bad NFTs have a bad reputation because of what happened last year. But I think that is gonna change, and I think they're waiting for the first one to do the first move, and then we're gonna see the rest of them move. And I seriously hope that we don't get buried by them. I think we hopefully we can stay together. We can push the space forwards as blockchain games and not as a huge Web2 AAA studios crashing us, right?
Yeah, I think we make up for it with our wonderful personalities and dedicated, like our, the big IP typically is just playing it safe, and they won't take the risks we do. So I feel like we'll always have something to offer that they don't.
No, for
But we'll
sure.
see. That's a
Sure.
good point. KJ, I see your hand up, and we'll go to Genso.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to what Chrono said at the end. That one of my worries is, I mean, it's just a worry, to be honest. It doesn't really matter. It's gonna happen regardless. Is this companies coming in and basically kind of leading the way they want to lead the way, right? And we already see that. There's a lot of players here, without mentioning any names, that come here and they're acting like Web 2. They want this to be Web 2, basically. And I feel like I don't care if the AAA companies come here. I don't even want them. I think I think we should build our own thing here. We got platforms like Elixir, which is something like Steam. They have more than 100 games, I think, right now. You can connect Polygon, you can connect Solana, you can connect every single blockchain in your account, and every game that you can launch through there connects to one of your wallets. If you have an NFT, it populates in the game. We don't need Steam to come in here. We don't need Minecraft to validate us. Like, I'm tired of that, to be honest. We should keep building our thing, just like we started at the beginning a couple of years ago. We keep building, and it doesn't matter if they come or not. We just got to do our own thing here and deliver.
Yeah, totally vibe with that, KJ. I think that's there's a lot of truth to that, and no hurry, right? We don't need them. We're doing just fine. So again, that being said, you guys have already crossed over, and you're doing well with it, and you get the principles. And I'm curious, like, what you see for 2023 as a headline potential for the year.
Yes, great. Yeah, we see that more and more users are going to be participating in creating their own content and bringing more value into Web3. And of course, selling those assets as NFTs or sharing or transferring or whatever. I mean, no, I think we're going to see a lot more transactions, a lot more creativity, and more people staying more time inside the Web3 verse. I think will be more helpful in advancing the technology as well. I think Polygon, our game is on Polygon, has been very helpful in that means. Their ecosystem and everybody surrounding it seems to be, I don't know the right word, but just simply friendly. You know, they just really want good for this ecosystem, and I love it. I love the warmth, and I think as a whole we can move forward to it. So I just this, I just have a very warm feeling that we're gonna make it.
No, I like that, and I mean that's true. Here we are. We're all like various games theoretically competing for same player base, but actually it's not the case. We're trying to grow a nascent, emerging new industry, a new area for players to play. So, or like Renata said, they won't even be players. It's just going to be a lifestyle. So there's that too. But I really like what you mentioned about the creativity. We haven't touched on that a whole lot. And like you see that with Aavegotchi just launching fake gotchis 1 month ago. And like there's a lot like that the big brands won't dare touch. And this is one example where we're like, okay, we can actually do an open source kind of shared IP hybrid where our community can actually come in and have tokenized publishing rights and start minting like culture around the game. And so that's what Fake Gotchis is all about. And it's been wildly successful. I can't be happier with where that's gone. It's just so active. And that's a great example. Genso, you're probably referring to something going on in Genso Meta, but this creativity aspect that is going to be probably a huge part of the Web3 type of crypto art, Web3 gaming mashup. You want to elaborate there? Give us any alpha?
Yeah. Of course, our land sales are coming, and of course, every game, of course, is going to give more originality, more space for creators inside their game. And we have a UGC function, a user-generated content function that we had from the Web2 game. So we're very excited about what that's going to mean in the Web3 area when they can actually make their own assets and actually utilize them to bring in assets of their own as well. Some monetary value for them as well. And that function is going to open in Q2 of next year. And that's, I think, when we can expect users that are not just gamers, but like you said, creators, 3D creators, animators, people who have IPs. Very excited about that. And excited about working with Aavegotchi, of course. We had our creators make 3D Gotchi that we're going to work with to give away in a Web3 style as well. So I'm very excited to see that happen. I'm just going to pin that tweet as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we did a bump for today's spaces, and there's an animated, beautiful 3D Gotchi running around this 3D world in the tweet. And if anyone's wondering, that is from Ginso Meta. So we're super excited on pins and needles, waiting to see that become available in Ginso Meta. Do you have any alpha for us on how that will actually be? Like, is this a airdrop? Is it just a character you select on the character select screen, or is it actually an NFT?
Yes, whoever we're going to work on, we're going to work out on how we're going to airdrop these NFTs to the guys who win it. But yes, this is an NFT that you can import inside the game, which is an Aavegotchi, a Gotchi styled cosplay NFT, which means you can wear it inside the game and be a Gotchi and run around the Metaverse, our game, as a Gotchi.
That's great. I think the one thing we didn't talk about today is this idea of interoperability. And it kind of goes back to what KG was saying about ownership. Like, that's the base building block, the cornerstone of all of this. And it's ownership, but importantly, it's ownership with like standardized standards. So like ERC 721 allows you to own it and also move it or have somebody else build something else that can use your assets. So that's really key, and it mimics more like real life, where our standards are just like physical things like wood and steel and stuff. We can do that now in the digital realm. And so interoperability, does anybody want to chime in on that? And that'll probably be, then I see some hands going up. We'll open up the floor and just have some free talk, but we're already over the hour. But I think that's a strong place to end, is just interoperability and bringing everything all together. So yeah, Ernani, your hand's up. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's right. That's definitely something that the ecosystem has still to figure out, because we have seen collaborations, right? Not really interoperability. What I mean by that is there are some games out there. I think Galaxy Fight Club might be a good example of that, where they partner with other brands. They basically reshape their characters to introduce to their game, right? Those are collaborations. They are not necessarily interoperability, where you can just follow a certain standard, a certain protocol, and that's going to work everywhere or in many different places. And I think we definitely need to work towards that in 2023. So what I mean by that is, for example, we at Orion, we are very focused on lending, on rentals. So we are working with and a few other games on actually creating a standard that everyone can adopt and that could work across multiple projects. I think we need to see more initiatives like that, so true operability can become a real thing in 2023.
Right. So even, yeah, a proper standard that helps, because there's different formats for too many of these games, right? You go from 3D to pixel art to a different file format. Another way to think about it, though, is I think back to Aavegotchi. Aavegotchi really is a protocol first and foremost. And so we didn't see a lot of games come out in 2022 other than what's the flagship, the Gotchiverse. But actually, in the background, the Aavegotchi DAO has been maturing and funding. We're seeing a lot of different games pop up. So I think we're going to see a half dozen different games that are built around the Aavegotchi NFT assets, the variety, from the characters to the wearables to everything else. And that's another way to consider interoperability. It's not necessarily one game studio working with another on totally different games, but an ecosystem or a kind of grassroots springing up, or game studios coming in and saying, okay, we're going to build something around your assets. And so that's kind of another way to look at it that is a little bit, it can't go quite as far as what you're describing, Ernani, but it certainly is like a regional thing. It's like the state, the greater Aavegotchi area, something to that effect.
Yeah. I think some people have called that like the vertical, like a vertical metaverse or a vertical interoperability, basically within your own realm, everything interoperable, and then there's like the horizontal, which is basically across blockchains, across games, across different blah blah blah, and all that good stuff, which is really really hard to Hernani's point. So
Totally. So yeah, two directions to go there, and yeah, I think the horizontal is definitely the trickier of the two. Well, guys, what do you think? Is there anything left on the table for 2023? Generally, you guys all sound pretty bullish. There's still tons left undone and needs to be done. Lots of work to do. Any final thoughts? And then we'll just open it up and welcome anyone on stage. Did we miss anything? If not, I think this was a great conversation. I know I got a lot out of it. I also am super glad to learn a little bit more deeply about each of your projects and your teams. Kronos, great to know you guys, brothers and sisters here on Polygon. Genso Meta as well. Lots for us to do. We're kind of attempting some of that horizontal integrations as we go, step by step. I think we'll have some more announcements there in the near future. And Kaji, of course, just bringing the insights. You've been hands-on with it longer than just about anybody. Mabby, shout out to what you guys are doing at Breeder DAO, and just super excited to see what you guys bring to the table in 2023. I hope we get some Breeder DAO Aavegotchi NFTs. That's the dream right there. And Orium Guild, you guys are just doing what you need to do. So keep it up. I think adoption is on the horizon in a much bigger way than we already experienced. Okay, I see a hand up here from Sharif. I'm going to bring him up. Futuristic, I saw your hand up. If you want to hop up, it'd be amazing. And if anybody needs to go, you're more than welcome. But if you want to hang, we can kind of do some pre-talk here and chill for a little bit. Sharif, welcome. Mic check. Okay, I don't hear anything.
Sorry,
you guys?
I was getting rushed there.
There we go.
Thanks for bringing me up, man. I appreciate that. I actually wanted to chat about the onboarding you guys were talking about. I noticed the Kaji's tweet, and he was talking about, why is IMX doing so well? And I think one piece that's kind of missing for the onboarding of new gamers is like zero transaction fees is extremely valuable, because gamers who come on to Web3, they'll never need to touch a centralized exchange, because they can open up their first loot box or do their first transaction and never need to fund their wallet. And I think custodial wallets is really valuable there too. I think when it comes to onboarding, you just need to try to remove as many barriers as possible. And to be honest, I know creating MetaMask is easy for us, but it's still a barrier. And if you can remove the need to create a MetaMask, and you can remove the need to ever fund that wallet through a centralized exchange, I think that will make the transition or the onboarding of new gamers into the space, especially if you're focusing on mobile, extremely efficient.
You bring up mobile, which is something we didn't cover today to this point. I think that's a good point. Does anybody think mobile will be a big trend in 2023 for blockchain gaming? Somebody going to get mobile adoption, right?
Yeah, we are actually also releasing on mobile next year. We think a lot of gamers, casual gamers, are there. We are already seeing, I think the mobile industry is so big and it's getting bigger. So we're also betting on that side, and we're also launching on mobile. We believe it's gonna also help lead the space.
Yeah, I think mobile makes a lot of sense. The games are less expensive to make, and it's accessible to everyone, everywhere. Everyone has a phone in their pocket. So you get more accessibility, less cost, less time to develop. And let's be honest, some of them are just as catchy, if not more catchy, more addictive than any PC game could be. So I think mobile is definitely an undervalued space right now that is just going to blow up next year.
Yeah, so much potential there, and it can be sped up by what Mabby was saying about if the Apple Store and the Google stores play ball. But even if they don't, there's ways around that. If you don't have to download anything and it's a browser-based experience like the Gotchiverse, then you should be able to get around that pretty easily. I think Mabby, some people got bumped, so I'm going to bring them back on stage. Hefe, what do you think?
Yeah, I think mobile is huge. I kind of followed Axie for a bit during their gain in popularity over the summer there, and it was interesting to see how many people, especially here in America or North America, we have most people do have a laptop or a computer, but I think it'll open up the demographics for who can actually access the games also, which is going to be really good.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of 2 points there, Sharif, right? Is like get the mobile going and back to this idea of, maybe, part of crypto's ethos is like, I'm not giving you my email address. I'm going to be anon. But maybe there's room in the middle, it's a spectrum, and there's room for, you want to play this crypto game, earn your first NFT. You give your email to everybody else. If you're willing to sign in with an email, we can get you started on this right away. And you can always opt out and transfer it to an anon wallet somewhere down the line, I suppose. Put it in a mixer or something.
Exactly. And I think with custodial wallets, there's like this big negative feeling towards them because of what happened with like FTX, not your keys, not your wallet. And I think that's very relevant when you're talking about exchanges. But I think when it comes to gaming, like you said, you put in an email and we create a custodial wallet for you, and you never need to fund that wallet, and you're collecting your first NFT within 5 minutes. And I think that experience is just it's going to be so seamless. You won't even know you're playing an NFT game, and you don't even need to call it NFTs. Call it digital collectibles, digital avatars, digital skins that you can sell and trade. You don't even need to use the word NFTs at all. But yeah, exactly.
You own some Reddit collectibles, don't you, bro?
I'll tell you what, we were marketing our mobile game as NFTs, and after Reddit did what they did, we are changing our marketing to digital collectibles now. And we specifically made that decision after we saw what Reddit did. We changed it to digital avatars, digital collectibles. That's how we'll be marketing now, specifically because of Reddit. And we saw Reddit hates NFTs. I'm a Redditor. They hated NFTs. It was just like this hive mind of negativity towards NFTs. Then their avatars come out and everybody loves it. And I realized maybe NFTs is not the right word to use here.
Oh man, KG's gonna freak out.
No. I agree. I agree with both points, right? Like I agree with not using it. What I disagree with is like, oh, let's remove it like we're removing Trump. Like, come on, man. Like, NFTs are the OG, Like now Redditors or whatever, now they know it's NFTs. You don't yeah, they got a digital collectible at the beginning, but then now they know there is NFTs. At the end of the day, they're NFTs. That's the OG right there. That's we don't need to remove that and completely from the internet now. And that's how I feel about when people tweet about this and talk about this. Like, nah, remove Web3 NFTs. That doesn't exist. Like, nah, bro. Yeah, let's find a better strategy for sure. I agree with that, but we don't need to be so radical about it. Like, like it never happened.
To this point, I think that NFTs, Web3, blockchain, all those terms, they are not the problem, right? There is probably better ways of marketing this whole ecosystem out there, but these are not the problem, right? I think the main problem is the user experience. That's what we need to streamline. That's what's going to be big for adoption.
Right. I'm laughing to myself thinking like, if you have NFTs, you got NFTs and they disappear from your wallet one day, we say you got rugged. Well, what happens to the Redditors when they get their digital collectible and they find out, oh, sorry, bro, you actually have NFTs? Is there an opposite word for that? Like, you got the opposite of rugged.
Reverse hugs.
Yeah, we slid a rug under you. You have a rug under your feet now.
That actually happened, though. That actually happened. There were some Reddit users talking about the digital collectible and how they own it and all of this. Like, they were going off. They were basically being like Web3 and NFT maxis without knowing. They were like, yeah, I love that I own it, blah, 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 this and that. And somebody replied, you just described what an NFT is. It was too funny. It was too funny.
Oh no. Yeah, they're on Polygon, you know that, right? It's good stuff. Well, I think this is a good place to kind of wrap this up. It's a very interesting part. It's exactly where we're at. We're like debating terminology, and like people are loving it when they don't even know what it is, or if you don't use the word, maybe they like it. They do. It's loaded terms, but yet here we all are. Like digital life is growing at a rapid pace, and whether it's a game, whether it's like Ernani from Orium Guild said, it's like a lifestyle evolving here. we're going to keep going more and more digital, and having digital property rights and NFTs play a role, likely in a gamified way, is not going away. So just thank everybody for coming up today and sharing what you guys are working on. We're all building towards the same future, and hope to see you all in the Metaverse, the Gotchiverse, and your guys' verses. So thank you so much, everybody. Awesome. Perfect. All right. Cheers, guys. We'll see you next time. We'll be taking a break over the holiday, but we are doing this same time, same place every week. We like to cover things outside of Aavegotchi in particular, but to cover Web3 and everything with crypto in general, whether it's DAOs, NFTs, or the latest news of the week. We like to tackle it here together this time every week. But in this case, enjoy your Christmas and your holidays, and we'll see you 2 weeks from now. Thanks, friends.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Later, friends.